Today's show is going to be about an aspect of dreaming that I have to admit is still a bit of a mystery to me, and that's lucid dreaming. But to help us understand all about lucid dreams, what they mean, and why they're important, I'm happy to introduce my guest today, Robert Waggoner. Robert's one of the foremost experts on lucid dreaming, having written several books on the subject, including the acclaimed book, Lucid Dreaming, Gateway to the Inner Self.
Hi, Debbie. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Well, as for me and for also those in the audience who may still be unclear about this, can you tell us the difference between a regular dream and a lucid dream?
Sure, it's relatively simple. A lucid dream means that you realize within the dream that you're dreaming. So, for example, you might be walking along and you see your old house and you think, wait a second, that house got torn down for the new highway. How can I be seeing that house? And then you realize, oh, this must be a dream. So whenever you realize within the dream that you're dreaming, that's a lucid dream. Now, the difference between it and a normal dream is in most normal dreams, we just go along with whatever happens. We just accept it, make up a story to explain it. We just go along. But in a lucid dream, when you realize, hey, this is a dream, then you can decide what you want to do, what you want, how you want to explore. You can talk to dream figures, ask them questions, and do all sorts of amazing things. So that's the basic difference.
Okay. When was the first time that you realized that the dreams you were having were lucid dreams?
That's interesting. The first time it ever happened, I was probably just a young boy of 10 or 11. And so if you can imagine this, I found myself in the public library in my hometown, and I'm looking at the books when all of a sudden I notice a little Tyrannosaurus Rex is walking through the book aisles. And even at age 11, I thought, wait a second, dinosaurs are extinct. How can this be? And at that moment, I realized, oh, this is a dream. I'm dreaming this. That's the only explanation. So that was the very first time that I became lucidly aware. But then when I was a junior in high school, I kind of taught myself or kind of created a special technique to help me become lucidly aware. And since that time, I've had about 1,000 lucid dreams, which is basically a way of saying that I've had about 30 lucid dreams a year or so.
Uh, One of the things, when I think of lucid dreaming, I think of, oh, well, I can fly in my dreams. I could do that. So what are some of the things you can do in a lucid dream, and what kind of benefits do you get from having lucid dreams?
That's a great question. And that's one reason I go around the world giving talks and write books and do online workshops, because there's a lot of potential benefits of lucid dreaming. So the first one you got to immediately, which is you can have a lot of fun. You can fly around, you can go through walls, you can walk on water, you can do all sorts of just totally amazing and incredibly fun things. But that's just the very surface level of lucid dreaming. As you go deeper, you realize that people are using lucid dreams to access inner creativity. For example, you could become lucidly aware, and if you were a musician, you could pull out your instrument and practice a difficult piece in the lucid dream, and chances are it would go incredibly well. And then when you do it in waking reality, you realize that, oh my gosh, I'm doing this so much better. So you see people use it for that. Sometimes they would ask, hey, when I go into that next room, I'm going to hear the most beautiful music that I can create. And they'd walk in there and then they'll hear beautiful music. Or they would perhaps solve a problem, whatever it is, by accessing that inner creativity of the unconscious mind. But then the other ways that lucid dreaming helps is people use it for emotional healing. When they realize within the lucid dream that they're being chased by the monster, now for the first time they can turn around and ask the monster, why are you chasing me? What do you represent? And oftentimes the monster will tell them exactly what they represent, and then they immediately get to the heart of the problem of why this thing has been chasing them in nightmares for 20 years or whatever. So you see people resolve nightmares, they get over phobias, some people address anxiety and all in a lucid dream and overcome it. And then there's the issue of physical healing in lucid dreams. In my books, I have entire chapters on examples of people who have healed themselves in lucid dreams. Finally, there's the issue of growth, personal growth and spiritual growth. And that's a whole nother topic, because lucid dreaming has a long history in Buddhism, Sufism, Taoism, and native traditions as a expressway to spiritual growth. So those are some of the benefits, and that's why I think people find it so extraordinary.
Oh, yeah. So when you're using a lucid dream or want to have a lucid dream, how much of the dream are you actually controlling while you're having the dream? Can you pre-program this, in effect?
You know, this is something that I bring up in my first book, Lucid Dreaming: Gateway to the Inner Self. I really don't think that people should use the word control, because really what you're doing in the lucid dream is you're influencing the lucid dream. For example, a lucid dreamer, this happens repeatedly, they'll go up to a dream figure and they'll say, "Hey, I'm dreaming this. Do you know I'm dreaming you?" And the dream figure will respond, "How do you know I'm not dreaming you?" And then the lucid dreamer feels really confused. And sometimes the lucid dreamer would say, "Well, look, I can fly." And the dream figure will say, "Well, look, I can fly too." And at the end of these kind of lucid dreams, everyone sits down and they really don't know whose dream it is, because it's obvious that the lucid dreamer isn't controlling it. The lucid dreamer, I would say, a lucid dream is really about more aware relating. You can relate to the dream with more awareness. You can influence what you do, just like you do in physical life, but nobody would say they control physical life. You control your actions within physical life to a large degree, and that's how it is in a lucid dream as well. You influence your direction and what you do, but you don't control everything that happens there.
Right, because a lot of things that happen in the dream just happen because they happen, right?
Right, but also I think the beautiful thing about a lucid dream is that you begin to see that the dream state has principles and rules. And that's why lucid dreamers can talk together, because they all discover that, wait a second, you discovered that too? Oh, I've discovered those same rules exist in lucid dreaming. And so because of that, you realize it's a principled reality. But one thing that I always tell people is an aspect of this is you just have to remember that the unconscious or your larger awareness is always part of the lucid dream experience. And so therefore, that's why sometimes surprising things happen and totally unexpected things happen. You're being introduced to new information, new ideas, areas that you need to work on.
Okay, and one of the things I gleaned from your book is that uh, most people actually start to have lucid dreams when they're children. But it is possible to learn how to have lucid dreams. But if you start younger, you have better success. I really discovered the power of dreams when I was much older. So is there any hope for me? Is it possible for me to learn how to have a lucid dream at my age?
Debbie, that's a great question. There was an interesting study in Germany where they talked to 694 school children, ages 6 to 19, and the researchers found that about 51% of them had already had lucid dreams. Even children, like 20% of the children who were 8 years old had already had a lucid dream. And so it seems to me a very natural thing. But in our culture, we just don't talk very much about dreaming, of course, and kind of ignore dreaming and lucid dreaming as well. But to your question, I think anyone can learn how to lucid dream, and you can also start at most any age. I remember on one of my online workshops that are at glidewing.com, I had a class for about 30 days, and I give them techniques on how to become lucid. So about halfway through the class, I realized that this one woman hadn't had a lucid dream yet. And so I reached out to her, and she told me that she was 70 some years old, had never had a lucid dream, but she was a Buddhist meditator and really wanted to learn about lucid dreaming. And so I asked her, if you became lucid tonight, what would you want to do? And she said, I would like to heal my mom, who's in a nursing home in a town about 10 hours away. And I told her, look, I'm going to give you some special help. That week, she had 3 lucid dreams, and these were the first lucid dreams she had ever had in her life.
Wow.
The first lucid dream, she got so excited at being lucid, she woke up. And that's really a common thing that happens. But in the next 2, she did exactly what I suggested to her: become lucid, stabilize the lucid dream, and then announce that you're sending healing energy to your mother in this far off town. And here's the incredible thing, Debbie. After that 3rd lucid dream, she hadn't told her mom she was doing this, but after the 3rd lucid dream, her mom called up and said, you better sit down, I have some great information. And her mom said that somehow, for some reason, overnight, all of her bed sores had disappeared. And for the first time in 2.5 years, she didn't feel any pain. And so this woman was so excited. And again, this was a woman who had never had a lucid dream before and was in her 70s. And so she learned. But the nice thing about kids is they just accept what you tell them. They don't really have any belief system you have to work with. They just will give it a try. When you're dealing with people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, sometimes you have to work through some of that.
You have all that baggage and all the stories you've told yourself over the years and just create a big problem with that. So, but you say, so there is still hope for me then. If I want to learn how to, I can.
Oh yeah, there's hope for you. There's hope for everybody.
That's good. Well,
it does take dedication and perseverance, though. Yeah, it does take some dedication.
Yeah, and you have actually outlined a number of techniques for people who want to learn how to have lucid dreams. We don't have time to go over all of them, obviously, in this time, but can you pick one and sort of go into detail about that technique on how you can learn to have a lucid dream?
I'll give you my simple technique that I taught myself a long, long ago when I was a junior in high school. And it's basically a technique I created after reading a book by Carlos Castaneda called Journey to Ixtlan. And in that book, his shamanic teacher suggests that he find his hands in the dream state and realize he's dreaming. But there really wasn't a technique. And so this is what I did. I just developed my own technique. And this is what I do. Each night before I'd go to sleep, I would sit there and I would just look at the palms of my hands while telling myself over and over in my mind, tonight in my dreams, I'll see my hands and realize I'm dreaming. Tonight in my dreams, I'll see my hands and realize I'm dreaming. Tonight in my dreams, I'll see my hands and realize I'm dreaming. I just say that over and over about 5 or 6 minutes until I got too sleepy, then I'd go to sleep. So I did that for 3 nights. On the 3rd night, I'm walking through my high school hallway, and all of a sudden, just like they're spring-loaded, boom, my hands popped right in front of my face, and I thought, oh God, my hands, this is a dream. And it was so amazing to realize that these were dream figures over here, and this wall that felt so cool and nubby, just like it should, was actually dream stuff. And so that's how I taught myself how to lucid dream. And the thing I like about it, it's simple. It's kind of like Pavlov and his bill. You're just making the sight of your hands. The first thing you have to think is, this is a dream. So you're just, every time you ring that bell, the dogs have to start to salivate to eat. Well, every time you see your hands, your first thought is, this is a dream. So that's how I did it.
And I imagine, like with everything else, it would take a little bit of practice before that actually could create a dream, I would think.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Pavlov. He had to do that ringing the bell while he fed the dogs. He had to do that, for a week or so until the dogs began to salivate just when he'd ring the bell. And that's the psychological principle of conditioned response. And because that's what you want. When you see your hands, your first thought has to be, this is a dream. And so that's what you're doing there.
Okay. Excellent advice. And that's one technique I think I could actually get behind. And Robert, So let's say you do have a lucid dream and, it's an amazing dream and, you want to remember it. What do you do with a lucid dream after you have it?
Yeah, so one thing that I always encourage people to do is to get into the habit of keeping good dream records, remembering their dreams, because as soon as you, just like any dream, as soon as you wake up from the lucid dream, you want to take down some notes so you can recall it easily or memorize it, or even just write out the entire lucid dream. Because as soon as you learn some of those details, if you wait an hour or two, you'll probably forget some of those important details. So you got to do it right then and there. And also, one thing I taught myself as a lucid dreamer, whenever I was doing an experiment or seeking something important, as soon as I got it and found it or did the experiment, I would tell myself to immediately wake up and write it down while it was fresh in my mind.
Mm. So just like remembering any dream, the same techniques you would do for that, you would do for a lucid dream, except the only difference is it's lucid. It's a little different. I understand that there are actually different levels of lucid dreaming. Could you elaborate a bit about that?
In my book, I talk a little bit about the various levels because um, sometimes we become lucidly aware. Like let's say we find ourselves at the dinner table, and there's Uncle Fred, and you think, wait a second, didn't Uncle Fred pass away 5 years ago? And oh, this must be a dream. But Uncle Fred says he'd like some apple pie and coffee, and so you get up and get him some apple pie and coffee, and you just go on with things. And so there you're kind of semi-lucid. You understand that there's something wrong, that this must be a dream because this is just too strange, but you just go along with it just like a normal dream. So there you're kind of semi-lucid, you kind of get it. When we're totally lucid, we understand, wait a second, this is a dream. Now I can decide what I want to do and how I want to do it. And then there's levels beyond that of becoming even more fully lucid and aware. So you see that lucid dreaming is kind of a gradation. And also you learn, as if you're someone like myself who's been doing this for a few decades, that at the beginning, a lot of lucid dreamers just play around and have fun. They don't really realize the deeper potential. And so as you kind of grow up and begin to explore more, you get a deeper, more experienced view of everything and the abilities and capacities that you have there.
Hmm. Okay. Well, you know what? When you mention that, there are times when, I'm dreaming and I'm having a dream and I'm kind of the observer. I know I'm dreaming. I see everything going on around me, but I can't do anything else but observe. I'm just looking at it all. Would that be considered a lucid dream, like a low-level lucid dream?
You know, that's interesting. I've noticed that myself, that in some dreams I'm the actor, sometimes I'm the reactor, that I'm reacting to whatever's going on, but sometimes I'm like in this third person perspective of kind of observing everything. And, you know, um, in some ways that's similar to a lucid dream because in a lucid dream you're aware of being aware. So you have that kind of third person aspect to it. But technically it would be kind of like sub-lucid or a pre-lucid kind of moment that you're observing, and you'd really have to make that switch to fully thinking, oh, wait a second, this is a dream, instead of just staying in observer mode.
Right. So if I'm having a dream like that, is there anything that I could be doing while having the dream to turn it into a lucid dream?
That's a great question. I think the one thing that we realize in a regular dream, we kind of lack critical questioning or critical awareness. And so when you move to that observer mode where you're observing things, if you can kind of just move that critical questioning or awareness a little bit higher and ask, wait a second, how did I get here? Or wait a second, why am I seeing this? Or wait a second, what's going on? by asking a question like that, sometimes we look around and we realize, I've never been here before in my life, and the last thing I remember is putting on my pajamas to go to bed. This has to be a dream. And so, so whenever you can enhance your critical awareness, that's really what'll push you into a lucid dream. There's a wonderful Tibetan teacher, Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, and he states that in the dream yoga tradition of Buddhism, their comment is, the more mindful and aware you are during the day, the more mindful and aware you'll be in your sleep and dreams, and therefore more likely to become lucid.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And when you were talking before about, the older woman who started lucid dreaming, you said like the first time she had it, she was so excited that, she woke up. Uh, there are different techniques you can use to keep yourself in a lucid dream while you're having it, aren't there?
Yeah, there really are, and these are things that I outline in my books. But the technique I would call, I just use REM, so you can remember it when you become lucidly aware. So I tell folks, when you become lucidly aware, you have to be careful that you don't get too excited, because if you get too excited and too emotional, you'll pop out of the lucid dream. It's almost like there's some sort of circuit breaker in our dream life that if we exceed a certain point of emotion, we'll pop out. So the first thing you want to do is kind of modulate your emotions or reduce your emotions. So you can do that by telling yourself to calm down. You can look at something boring like the floor. If you've seen something exciting that makes you become lucidly aware, then it's probably a good idea to look somewhere else to kind of reduce that emotional load. Then the other next step would be to enhance your awareness, because sometimes we become lucid and we know it's a dream, but we're still not fully in that space. And so what I suggest to people, you can rub your hands together. Even though they're dream hands, you'll have the sensation of your hands rubbing together, and it'll give you that kind of kinesthetic sensation of being in that place or being more fully present in the lucid dream. Or you can touch something to kind of ground yourself, give you that connection to the dream space environment. Or you can just shout out, greater clarity now, or greater awareness now. And when you do that, sometimes it's like someone turns up the lights in the lucid dream and it's even brighter. So that's how you can enhance your awareness. And finally, the third thing, and this is kind of something that takes a little trial and error, it's maintaining your awareness. Because I'll tell you what happens, Debbie, you become lucidly aware, and let's say you go exploring, and you'll see something that's so fascinating that you'll forget that this is a dream. And you'll get so caught up in the events or the situation that you'll just return to regular dreaming. And so you need to maintain your focus that, oh, this is a dream. So I encourage beginners every 15 or 30 seconds to tell themselves, this is a dream. I'm dreaming this. This is a dream. Or like my friend Lucy, she starts singing when she becomes lucidly aware, because she knows that she wouldn't be walking around downtown singing to herself nonstop. That would be too strange. And so as long as she's singing, she knows it's a lucid dream, and that helps maintain her awareness. But if you reduce your emotions, enhance your awareness, and maintain your focus, you can have a very long lucid dream.
Yeah. A while before, you were talking about how experienced lucid dreamers, are able to communicate with each other because they have certain, principles or rules that they are all aware of. What would some of those be?
Principles and rules would be like, don't get too excited or you'll pop out of the dream. Other rules are the rules regarding beliefs and expectations. For example, if I become lucidly aware and expect that I can easily fly through that wall, I'll just zoom right through that wall because it's dream stuff. But if I become lucidly aware and as I'm flying up to that wall, all of a sudden it looks like, oh, those bricks are so hard and real looking and whatever, I'll just bounce right off of it. And so that's what lucid dreamers realize, that lucid dreaming is mentally reflective. If you believe you can do something, then you can do it. But if you believe you're going to have problems or it's going to be impossible, then you can't do it. And so you begin to see that beliefs and expectations, focus and intent, and all those things really come into play. And then finally, there's the issue of the larger awareness, reaching out to the larger awareness. And for example, I tell lucid dreamers, if you want to experience that, just become lucidly aware, ignore the dream figures, and just look up and shout out to the larger awareness, to your unconscious mind, hey, dream, show me something important for me to see. And oftentimes at that point, the entire lucid dream will change. And you'll be looking at something incredibly new, sometimes very important, and sometimes very powerful. But this is why I always tell lucid dreamers they need to learn about dream interpretation and dream symbolism. Because sometimes when you reach out to that larger awareness, it'll give you a symbolic response. And then you have to have some understanding of dream symbolism in order to know how to proceed.
Mm-hmm. Well, even if you go through all the techniques you've just talked about, a person's only going to have a percentage of lucid dreams as opposed to regular dreams. Even you've said you only have 30 lucid dreams a year, more or less. Why is that? Why wouldn't every lucid dream be? Why would every dream be a lucid dream?
That's interesting. When you sit down and start to do the numbers, let's say you have 5 dreams a night. That means by the end of each year, you've had about 1,800 dreams. And when you think, well, gosh, how many of those dreams have I remembered even a little bit of? And then you think, how many of those did I become consciously aware of dreaming? So most of us, by the time we're 10 or 11, haven't had very many lucid dreams, and we've just kind of learned to accept whatever happens. So it is quite a new thing to kind of be more mindfully aware in the dream state and critically question things, and kind of change the typical routine. So there are some people who have frequent lucid dreams who become lucidly aware every night, but most of them, many of them have learned a certain technique as a child to become lucidly aware. And oftentimes it was in response to nightmare figures. They learned to become aware as children so they would know they were in a dream, so they could prepare themselves for the monster or the witch or whatever it was. And so they just taught themselves their own unique way to become lucid.
So do you still get surprised by lucid dreams you have?
So I honestly do. I continue to have lucid dreams, and I do want to say that when I was really practicing hard at becoming lucid, I got up to having 30 lucid dreams a month, but that just took a lot of effort and energy and time. And now I'd say I'm one of those people who have 2 or 3 lucid dreams a month. But even here in the past year, I have seen some extraordinary things. And sometimes what surprises me, as you go deeper into lucid dreaming, sometimes what you see is light and geometric forms and some extraordinary things. But as an example, I saw about a year ago an azure green dragon composed of dots of light in a lucid dream. And when I saw this dragon, it was extraordinary. In the lucid dream, I was helping a friend of mine who's a Buddhist, and I was helping him, and then we fell through darkness for 2 or 3 minutes, and I've done that before in lucid dreams. I just realized you just stay with it, don't worry about it, go with it. But when this azure green dragon composed of dots of light appeared, I was like, oh my gosh. And when I woke up, I wrote my friend and I mentioned this, and he said, oh, I'm doing a Buddhist meditation that involves a dragon, the azure green dragon, which has special significance in certain Buddhist philosophy. So anyway, it's truly profound, and I even continue to surprise myself.
Oh, well, with that, I have to say we're reaching the end of our time. So can you tell people how they can get your books or find out more about you?
My books, of course, are on Amazon, at booksellers, independent booksellers. Also, they're in Audible, Kindle, MP3, CDs, all of that, and French and German and lots of other languages as well. But you can also check it out and what I'm doing at lucidadvice.com. That's my website, lucidadvice.com. And I'm always happy to answer questions and help people out.